This is Guided by Wellness with Dr. Magnus Thorsson, your source for clarity on the science of cannabis wellness.
Nearly 9 in 10 Americans support cannabis legalization. So why is it so confusing and difficult for cannabis-curious consumers to find the right solution for their lifestyle and wellness needs? From better sleep to stress relief, easing menstrual cramps to reducing inflammation, more people than ever are turning to cannabis as part of their daily wellness routine. Or they want a mindful way to unwind without pouring a drink. But walk into a dispensary and you're hit with a dizzying wall of high THC products, inconsistent advice, and labels that feel more cryptic than helpful. So, if cannabis is legal and widely accepted, why is it still so hard to find clear, trustworthy information about how to actually use it for your well-being? In this episode, we dive into the consumer knowledge gap, the disconnect between what people need and what the cannabis industry delivers, and how education can empower you to build a routine that truly supports your health. Because cannabis should not be complicated, it should be intentional, accessible, and made for you. Thank you for joining me on Guided by Wellness. I am Dr. Magnus Thorsson, your host, professor, researcher, and founder of Canna-Curious Brands, as well as the nation's first cannabis entrepreneurship program at Johnson & Wales University. Like many of you, I started my cannabis journey feeling confused and overwhelmed. There was missing information, labels that did not make any sense, and advice that contradicted itself. And all this in a marketplace that acted like I already knew what I was doing. This experience of curiosity met with confusion inspired this podcast. Guided by Wellness exists to close this knowledge gap and give cannabis-curious consumers like you clear and transparent information you deserve. My research focuses on helping people make informed, confident choices so that you can feel empowered to explore cannabis on your own terms. Whether you're brand new or just ready for a better conversation, you're in the right place. So let's get started. I would like to begin with the cannabis knowledge gap because it's one of the biggest reasons so many people who could benefit from cannabis still haven't found their way in. The knowledge gap is the disconnect between what people need to know, like how cannabis works, what products to choose, and how to dose them safely, and what they're actually told. Most consumers are left to figure it out on their own. Labels are filled with percentages and acronyms. Products' names sound more like arcade games or energy drinks. There's the Pineapple Death Punch, Alien Mints, or Donkey Kong. Not exactly helpful when you're just trying to get a good night's sleep or ease menstrual cramps. Even in legal markets, it's not uncommon to walk into a dispensary and see entire walls of flower organized by THC content, not by how the product might make you feel. And often, there's little or no education at the point of sale. If you're new to cannabis or even looking for a more functional, wellness-oriented experience, that can be overwhelming. This lack of clear, trustworthy information isn't just frustrating, it's a real barrier. Many people who are curious about cannabis end up either buying the wrong product, using too much, or having a negative experience and walking away for good. That is a missed opportunity, not just for the consumer, but for the industry as a whole. When we close the knowledge gap, we make space for better outcomes. We help people feel more confident, more in control, and more likely to return to cannabis as a trusted wellness tool. And that's what this podcast is here to do. Basically, what we are looking to do, or what I'm looking to do, is to translate the science, demystify the products, and help you find what works for you. Cannabis is simple, and it should be approachable. So that's why we're here. So I want to start by telling you a personal experience of my interest and curiosity for cannabis. I was traveling in Amsterdam in 1991, in May to be exact. I was on a graduation trip from culinary school, and one of the things that I had decided to do while I was in Amsterdam was to go and explore cannabis. So to do this, I went to a place called Bulldogs, which is by now a world famous destination for those who are curious about cannabis. Bulldogs has an upstairs cafe where they serve coffee and pastries that are infused with cannabis. And then downstairs they have a consume on site that has couches, tables, and a small counter behind which a gentleman stood and was providing products. So we were given a menu of many options, and we read through the menu, and we saw things that didn't really sound familiar, and there was nothing that really helped us better understand what cannabis was about. Despite this, I went and I purchased, we selected 2 different items off the menu. I went to the bud tender and made the purchase. Came back with a victorious smile on my face, came back to my friends and showed them the 2 baggies that I'd been given. And it turned out that none of us knew how to roll, so I had to scamper back to the bud tender and ask him to roll a joint for us, which he gladly did. He didn't offer much in terms of information, and when I asked him, I said, there's 4 of us and there's only 1 joint. And he said, yeah, don't worry, that'll be fine. You guys are going to be okay. So with that information, I go back to my group. We sit down, we light the joint, and we were all cigarette smokers. So we sat down and passed the joint and smoked it like we smoked cigarettes. And we now know that that's not how you do it. We all, as it turns out, became really rock stoned. In fact, I had to support myself. I had to grab onto the knees of my pants to aid my walking home. So all that to say, the first experience that I had of cannabis was not really a very pleasant one, and it made me stay away from cannabis for the next 26 years. So I didn't reattempt cannabis again until 2017. I was in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And I was presenting my research on consumer education or consumer choice architecture. And I saw that there was a lot of life on campus. There was lots of interest. People were enthusiastic. And I learned that cannabis had just been legalized recreationally, and the first dispensaries had just opened up. And I thought the energy was so intriguing. The excitement on campus was so amazing. So I said, well, let me go and check this out. So I started by going to a head shop, which was quite visible on campus. And the person working the head shop gave me directions to the first dispensary. So with that, I went to the first dispensary, which was located in an old car dealership. And they checked my ID. I was let in. I felt very strange being in this place now, ready to purchase legal cannabis for the first time. And I walk up to the counter, and there's none of the products look familiar to me. I don't know much about cannabis. So I asked the person behind the counter, can you tell me a little bit about cannabis? I'm totally new to this. And the person pointed me to a closed circuit camera that showed the picture of terpenes and, cannabinoids on the trichomes that were located on the bud and on the leaves of this plant. And he said, in here you'll find amazing THC and the cannabinoids. And with that, I was left to go and find a product. That was about all the information that I got. And when I asked the bud tender after I had made a purchase of some strain that I can't remember what it was, I said, how do I use it? How do I load the pipe? And I think the person who I was speaking to thought I was making fun of them, but I was in earnest asking, how do you use this product? How do you smoke? They pointed me to a beginner kit that had a grinder and a small pipe. I think it was emblazoned with pictures of Bob Marley. And armed with this and little other information, I went back to my hotel. I grinded enough flour for the glass pipe that I had also purchased. I went outside and I smoked or tried the product. And again, wasn't sure what I was feeling. It probably didn't help that I had had a couple of Oregon's legendary IPAs. I wasn't thinking of, you need to separate alcohol and cannabis. I tried the cannabis, and again, I didn't have a really superb experience, not one that led me to want to go back and explore cannabis more. What it did leave me with, though, was a really enthusiastic interest in seeing how excited people were about cannabis. And I thought to myself, as a professor of entrepreneurship and as a student of consumer behavior, there's got to be something here. I'm going to have to explore this further. And this was sort of the basis of the start of developing the Cannabis Entrepreneurship program that I founded at Johnson & Wales University, a 4-year program that looked at both the service aspect of cannabis, in other words, the retail end of it, and the grow and plant physiology of how to make the conditions for the cannabis plant to grow under the best of conditions. The cannabis program launched in 2021, fall of 2021, about 6 months prior to Rhode Island legalizing cannabis. And since then, I have followed the market condition. I have seen products increase in THC. I have seen the variety of products grow, but I have not seen the access to information or the guidance to consumers improve. These are the primary motivations that are driving me to build this podcast. And I want to delve into all the aspects of cannabis, the entourage effect, the individual cannabinoids, and what cannabis users should be expecting from using the cannabis plant. So let's get into it. The need for consumer education has grown in step with the THC potency. So if we think back on the products that were being sold illegally in the United States in the 70s and 80s, we're talking about a cannabis plant grown under various conditions with various chemicals added to it, both pesticide, herbicides, and fertilizer. But the product at the time was generally around 5 to 7% THC. Since then, due to conditions of the legal market, the black market has driven growers to increase the THC content as that was more valuable in a black market scenario. But the THC content in the cannabis plant has far outstripped people's knowledge and comprehension of the dangers and how to handle products that are now more than 30% THC. Many people who are new or curious about cannabis will end up coming in buying perhaps a single pre-rolled joint, reminiscent of what they used to use when they were in high school. They will smoke parts of or half a joint, and some of the products that are on the market now, they can have as much as 600 milligrams of THC, enough to make a group of people significantly incapacitated or stoned. So the need for clarity and consumer education, the need to break down how to read THC, how to evaluate the product, has grown in step with the level of THC in the product. So this is why we've determined that this education is the most important tool if we are going to invite new consumers and allow their landing to be soft and comfortable based on education and clarity and transparency of information. Cannabis wellness is not about getting high. It's about feeling better in your body and mind. More people are exploring cannabis as a natural plant-based way to support everyday well-being. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, sleep more soundly, ease physical discomfort, support emotional balance, or replace alcohol with a healthier way to unwind at the end of the day. Cannabis offers a personalized path to wellness when used thoughtfully. So let's talk a little bit about your endocannabinoid system. So we have a system within our body that helps modulate and regulate all of the body's 11 life systems. What we're going to do in this series is we're going to talk about what the endocannabinoid system does and how it can benefit our well-being. We will devote an entire episode, episode 4, where we talk to Dr. Ian Uchili, who is a medical doctor who specializes in the effect of cannabinoids on your body system and how to improve your well-being using cannabis. So your endocannabinoid system is a system within your body's internal network called the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. This system helps regulate stress and mood, sleep cycles, pain and inflammation, emotional equilibrium, and cannabis works with your endocannabinoid system, helping your body restore balance and find relief when you need it the most. So we're going to get, as I said, into the function of the endocannabinoid system in episode 4. And now that we've established that there's a lack of information or a knowledge gap, let's talk a little bit about how cannabis can be used as a wellness tool and what you can do to improve how your everyday life is with using cannabis. So cannabis is a wellness tool. It's not really just about getting people high. It's about feeling better in your body, in your mind. And more people are exploring cannabis as a natural plant-based way to support everyday wellness. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, to sleep more soundly, ease physical discomfort, or support emotional balance, cannabis wellness is a powerful tool that can help you achieve those things. In addition, many people are trying to cut down their use of alcohol and are looking for ways to use cannabis to replace alcohol as a healthier way to unwind at the end of the day. Cannabis can offer a personalized path to wellness when it's used thoughtfully. So let's shift away from the knowledge gap and let's move on to reframe cannabis as a wellness tool. So many people are starting to look to cannabis as a possible solution to their ailments. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore a topic that's gaining attention but is often misunderstood, and that is cannabis as a wellness tool. Like how can something that you're smoking actually be good for you? So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So forget the old stereotypes. We're not going to be discussing how cannabis is going to get you high, but we're going to look at how can cannabis make you feel better in your body and in your mind, from reducing stress to sleeping better, eating, easing pain, or even swapping alcohol for a more mindful option. Cannabis can offer a real benefit when used intentionally. So, what is this wellness? Well, more people are turning to cannabis as a plant-based support for everyday well-being, whether you want to reduce your anxiety, improve your sleep, ease chronic discomfort, or support emotional balance. Or many people who are going through things like dry January are looking to relax at the end of the day without a hangover, and cannabis may be a great tool in your toolkit. But to understand why it works, we need to talk about a system inside your body that most people have never heard of. So I'm going to introduce you to your endocannabinoid system, or ECS. So your body had this it has this internal regulatory system called the endocannabinoid system, and it plays a key role in maintaining balance of mood and stress, sleep cycle, things like a pain response, and it impacts inflammation and or emotional stability. Cannabis works with your endocannabinoid system, essentially nudging your body back towards balance when it's under strain. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore the endocannabinoid system more deeply in episode 4 when we get the insight from an expert who's going to help us understand how to nourish and support this vital system. Beyond THC, why blended cannabinoids matter. So cannabis is not just about THC. In fact, when THC is combined with other plant compounds like CBD or CBG, as well as calming terpenes, it can offer a gentler, more functional experience. It can reduce anxiety and overstimulation, and a better balance between body and mind. This is called the entourage effect. This is where all the plant's natural components work together to create a more holistic and effective results. So, what is everyday cannabis for everyday wellness? Well, how are people actually using cannabis for wellness? Many people are improving their sleep quality by using something called CBN. Now, CBN is a cannabinoid, a minor cannabinoid, that doesn't necessarily help you sleep, but it stops you from tossing and turning, making your sleep environment better, improving sleep quality. We also have other cannabinoids that are noted by user experience to help ease muscle tension. There are other cannabinoids and terpenes that will help you regain emotional equilibrium and ease your stress and help you recharge after a challenging day. And last but not least, many people are looking for something that's going to replace their ritual of a nightly glass of wine or two with something that's going to be more intentional and better. But while this interest is growing, the path to wellness-oriented cannabis is still full of challenges. So some of the challenges are barriers to access and clarity of product. Here's what many wellness seekers face. They find high-potency products that dominate most dispensary shelves. Low THC and microdose options are hard to find, and labels rarely explain the effects clearly. So budtender advice, so many are left with budtender advice. Now, the budtender position is a really important position in people's wellness journey, but the training of budtenders is inconsistent, the turnover in the position is relatively high, and it depends on what's on special or what other motivational factors will guide the budtender's advice, and all those can make the advice that you receive inconsistent or overwhelming. So, how can we make cannabis more wellness friendly? Well, we can unlock cannabis' full wellness potential. To do so, we need more low-dose balanced products designed for daily life, effect-based labeling that speaks in plain language and uses words that we understand like calm, restore, uplift, and then educational tools that help consumers decode cannabinoids, terpenes, and how they're going to affect you. Budtender training that focuses on wellness goal, not just high THC content, can be a powerful tool for self-care if we change how we talk about cannabis, sell it, and use it. On this program, we are going to try to make cannabis approachable. We're going to try to eliminate the barriers for people who are curious about cannabis and are intent on using it for an improvement in their wellness or in their lifestyle. And by doing this, we're hoping to break down some of the barriers, we're hoping to reduce the stigma, and we're hoping to clarify to people that cannabis in controlled portions with dosage and titration can really improve how you feel in your body. But one of the things that I'm going to do in every episode is I'm going to include a myth, a cannabis myth, and I'm going to offer you the science behind the myth so that you can decipher and decide for yourself where you land on this myth. So the first myth that I want to talk about is if you don't feel high, cannabis is probably not working. It's probably just some rubbish. So the truth is you don't have to feel high at all for cannabis to work. It's sort of like vitamins. I mean, you don't really feel vitamin C working, but without vitamin C, you're going to have headache, a low-grade headache. You can have loss of appetite, and you're not going to be feeling your best. So the same thing with cannabinoids. So you don't have to be high for the cannabis to work. And we're gonna really dive into this because even a small dose of THC is going to open up a pathway for cannabinoids like CBN to help people fall asleep. Cannabinoids like CBD, they can reduce the pain signals that go to your body so that you now have something that's going to help you sleep better. You have something that's going to reduce how you experience your pain. And you have THC sort of to cradle that and to get it all started, sort of like a coach. And even with 1 or 2 milligrams of THC, the person is not going to necessarily feel a euphoric lift, but it is going to create a pathway where the other cannabinoids are going to be super helpful. The CBN going to stop you from tossing and turning or reduce your tossing and turning, and the CBD is going to help with reduction in pain. So it's not about intensity, it is about the function in your body. So the cannabis, if you want to know if it's working, the effects may often be subtle, and the effects may often be a lack of pain, or the pain is missing. So no, you do not need to be notably high for cannabis to work. The cannabis can work softly in the back. So who is this podcast for? Guided by Wellness is intended for adults seeking gentle, natural ways to feel better, for curious and cautious consumers who want to see if cannabis has something to offer them in terms of wellness or lifestyle improvement, and wellness-minded people like yoga enthusiasts or sober, curious professionals. The aim with the Guided by Wellness is to bridge the knowledge gap, to decode the science, and help you explore cannabis with confidence. Stay tuned, because in the next episode, we're going to explore how the cannabis plant is grown and what the potential of the cannabis plant to provide wellness and lifestyle improvements in your life. In closing, I want to say that cannabis isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, but it can be a personalized path to greater well-being. With the right knowledge and support, it has the potential to help people live more balanced, intentional lives. In our next episode, we'll explore the cannabis plant itself, what it contains, how it works, and how to choose the right products. We'll be joined by Dr. Bud Zizik, or Dr. Bud like his students call him, a plant scientist and a professor of cannabis cultivation. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring wellness your way. Have you ever felt overwhelmed in a dispensary or struggled to find a low-dose product that actually fits your needs? Send us your story or question. We may feature it in a future episode. Stay curious and keep exploring wellness your way.
Thanks for watching Guided by Wellness. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.